Hello, Africa. Welcome to AAU TV News Update, broadcasting from the Association of African Universities. My name is Isabella Tetahinakwa. In today's headline, super powerful human antibodies protect against COVID-19 in animal testing. Underwater Wi-Fi for aquatic internet sending information by beams of light. Now the news in detail. A team led by Scripps Research, International AIDS Vaccine Initiative, IAVI, and the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine has discovered antibodies in the blood of recovered COVID-19 patients, which provide powerful protection against SARS coronavirus 2, the disease-causing coronavirus when tested in animal and cultures of human cells. According to the co-senior author Dennis Barton and Jesse Minor, chair of the immunology at Scripps Research Department, the detection of these very strong antibodies is an extremely rapid response to a completely new pathogen. In principle, patients could be given injections of such antibodies in the early COVID-19 stage to reduce the level of virus and protect against severe disease, and can also be used to provide immediate vaccine-like defense against SARS coronavirus 2 infection to healthcare staff and elderly and others who react poorly to conventional vaccines or are suspected of recent coronavirus exposure. Scripps Research and IAVI scientists developed test cells that express angiotensin-converting enzyme 2, the receptor used by SARS coronavirus 2 to get into human cells, and tested whether patients' blood containing antibodies could bind to the virus and severely block it from infecting the test cell. More than 1,000 distinct immune cells producing antibodies called B cells were isolated, each producing a distinct anti-SARS coronavirus 2 antibody. It was a huge joint effort, and we are now concentrating on producing large quantities of these promising antibodies for clinical trials, says Thomas Rogers, co-leader author, MD, PhD, and adjunct assistant professor in the Department of Immunology and Microbiology at Scripps Research. All of this work, including the development of models of cell and animal infection and studies to find out where the interesting antibodies bind the virus, was completed in less than 7 weeks. Moving on, scientists at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology has developed an underwater wireless system, Aquafy, that supports internet services such as sending multimedia messages using either LEDs or lasers. According to the first author, Bassam Shihada, internet is an invaluable communication tool that links tens of billions of devices worldwide, and yet we struggle from underwater to connect to the internet. The Aquafy prototype used green LEDs or a 520 nanometer lasers to send the data to a light detector connected to another computer from a small, simple computer, which converts photos and videos into a series of ones and zeros, translated into light beams which turns on and off at a very high speed. The light detector senses this variation and converts it back into ones and zeros, which the receiving computer converts to the original footage. The system was tested by simultaneously uploading and downloading multimedia in static water between two computers set a few meters apart. For a round trip, the researchers recorded a maximum data transfer speed of 2.11 megabytes per second and a mean delay of 1.00 milliseconds. This is the first time somebody has absolutely wirelessly accessed the internet underwater, says Shihada. He concluded that they have created a relatively cheap and flexible way of connecting underwater environments with the global internet and hopes to improve the quality of the links and the transmission range with faster electronic components, and that Aquafy will one day be used as widely underwater as Wi-Fi is above water. That is all for today's news update. Before we go, a quick recap on the headlines. Super powerful human antibodies protect against COVID-19 in animal testing. Underwater Wi-Fi for aquatic internet sending information by beams of light. I am Isabella Tetahinakwa.
Good day, Africa, and welcome to AAU TV. This is Agenda 2063. Today on Agenda 2063, we are looking at investing in skills revolution that is based on science, technology, and innovation. I'll be your host for today, Schneider Kweku Ankuma, as usual. And with me today, I have Mr. David Sion Donko. Mr. David Sion Donko is the founder of Diligent Citizens Foundation, a psychotech company limited. He will talk about that in brief. He's also the head of software development at African University. Yes, we will come back to that. He will give us details about what he does and all those things. I'll give you a bit of a background on today's topic, Agenda 2063, that is investing in skills revolution that is based on science, technology, and innovation. Remember, the first aspiration of Agenda 2063 says that a prosperous Africa that is based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. How to achieve this, we talk about investing or improving on our social and human capital. How then do we do this? We talk about using science, technology, and investing in innovations. We will get back to this and more on this after the break. Stay with us.
Dumela ma Africa amat.
Magadini Mose.
Olá a todos.
Bonjour.
Nagaiswa.
Goeiedag.
Salibonani lonke.
Mulibwanji.
Hello.
We are
Africa University.
Africa University has brought the US to me where I couldn't go, and now is taking Africa to the world. And I am Africa.
As a community of diverse cultures and languages, Africa University is passionate about moving the agenda of Pan-Africanism. Africa University, the dream is alive.
I'm studying medical laboratory sciences on the STEM scholarship. Africa University has the best malaria research lab in the entire country. So if you're interested in lab sciences or conducting any sort of research, then Africa University is the place to be.
Africa University is the school of hope in the valley of dreams. Come and join me. We're gonna make Africa better than before.
You might have not been to all the African countries. Come to Africa University and see Africa happening every day. An institution that offers a world-class education system.
Are you thinking of being a global person? Thinking of enhancing your business and leadership skills? Why not choose Africa University?
As a working mother and a wife, through one of its many flexible programs, Africa University has afforded me an opportunity to pursue my master's degree in intellectual property.
As former SRC president, Africa University sharpened my leadership skills. A university that rewards excellency and hard working.
Being a Catholic nun, I came to Africa University with a lot of mixed feelings. I was scared, a bit hesitant, and wondering how was I going to manage in a United Methodist institution. But you know what? I've experienced a vibrant, God-fearing, ecumenical community.
Welcome to Africa University. Sign up today and come and work with some of Africa's finest young talent. Whatever your background or field of interest, you will feel right at home. Africa University has a vibrant and multicultural student body, offering you a range of facilities both in and outside the classroom. Our dining hall provides for more than 11 different menus with cultural diversity. Should you need accommodation, Africa University caters for a number of residence options. Whatever your level and whatever your sport, at Africa University you'll find plenty of opportunities to stay active. Our excellent sports and fitness facilities will help you stay on top of your game in an environment that promotes a proactive approach to sport, recreation, health, Excellent sports and fitness facilities will help you stay on top of your game in an environment that promotes a proactive approach to sport, recreation, health and well-being. Every year the university gets multi-talented athletes from among the student body and staff. Their sporting backgrounds are as varied as their nationalities. Some have represented their countries and have received awards in the process. Enroll with us for our March or August intakes. Africa University, investing in Africa's future.
Welcome back. This is Agenda 2063. Today we are talking about investing in skills revolution that is based on science, technology, and innovation. Remember, we are transmitting live from Association of African Universities office here in East Legon, Accra. You can also join us in this discussion by following us on Facebook, Association of African Universities, on Twitter, AAU_67. In the house today, I have Mr. Sion Donko. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Sion.
Thank you.
How are you?
By grace. How about you?
I'm fine. By introducing you, I mentioned that you work for
Diligent Citizens Foundation.
Diligent Citizens Foundation. What is it that you do at the Diligent Citizens, in brief?
Okay, Diligent Citizens Foundation is a foundation that was founded to mobilize community human resources for local development. We realized that in Ghana, we have shifted from being communal to trying to be global, but then we don't even fit there. So what we do is we try to organize humans within the community and let them know that they can really influence the society in which they live. So we do this through empowerment, through vocational training. We do adult literacy in terms of we do seminars to empower them to know that, hey, they are responsible for their societies, so they should be in control, and then take it seriously.
Okay, so you are an IT person, basically a software developer, and now you are into this initiative. Is it that are you applying a bit of ICT in your work you do currently?
For Diligent Citizens Foundation, I think I started working with foundation in 2009 when I was at the university level, level 200. I love people, and I really want to see them grow from one stage to the other. So I remember moving from the villages of Osanku, Fianco, the Arakasa area, to mobilize them. I ran away from school, from lectures, just to mobilize them, take them to training, and fund that with my my little stipend that I sent from my father, okay. So that they can learn some skills. I sent 10 females there, they completed successfully. So that is just me. I just love people. I just want to see them improve and grow.
Okay. So this, you love people, you love Africa. So today we're talking about Africa. So today we're looking at investing in skills revolution that is based on science, technology, and innovation. You know that science and technology is basically altering the way things are done in the world, in terms of business, in terms of how we interact, how we communicate, and all those things. But then, I am speaking from the perspective of an economist. You are into IT, a software developer. You have much insight. How is technology, or say science, changing world economies?
Okay, so I'd like to take it from the point where we are looking at science as a systematic study, and then technology as the implementation of scientific findings. So day in, day out, people are researching. Okay. And there is a need to implement the findings of these people. That's why we have labs. And unfortunately, in Africa, or in Ghana to say, there are few research labs. That shows in the deficit of our technology. So for science, technology, we realize that there's always a learning process, and we get to the implementation process, then we get to the innovation process. But for science and technology affecting economies, we realize that now, initially, if you are to do accounting, you do it with a normal pen and paper. Now you're going to do it with an accounting software, as currently. But the future is not using accounting software because, I mean, humans have high potential of generating errors. So we are looking at machine learning, being able to learn from the sales people, from the payment, the invoices that are sent outside there, to generate the report automatically. So I don't need to hire an accountant to do all those things for me. So technology actually takes over that particular job. you go to a lot of banking sectors and realize that now they are cutting off staff because IT is doing most of the things that humans used to do.
AI?
Yeah, artificial intelligence. Humans are, develop computers to think like humans. That's artificial intelligence. So I can learn from your patterns or your behavioral patterns and then ask the computer to do the things that you do. So the world is changing, through data acquisition. Mostly AI is based on data. So now that data is so much available, then we are leveraging on that data to make work easier in all economies. So if a country like Ghana that we don't gather data, I mean our bets and records and are almost always faulty. That's not there.
So investing in revolution. That means we have something, but then we want to revolutionize the whole system. So how do we go about it? Is it starting from the scratch and then building up something? What sort of skills do we need to be able to catch up with that technological age? Because in this 21st century, we realize that there are a lot of deficiencies when you come to Africa in terms of production, in terms of communication, in terms of even how we learn, how we transact business. So what skills do we lack and how do we develop those skills in order to catch up?
Okay, so we're going to start from this where you start. We're going to start from, I'll call it dual ends.
Okay.
We start with the kids, trying to psych them to fall in love with science and technology.
Okay.
And then those who are already using technology in some way, then we need to help them improve on what they are currently doing.
Okay.
So we are going to look from an adult perspective and from the children perspective, because we are looking at Agenda 2063, which is about 50 years from now.
Yeah.
It means that this is for the kids below.
Yeah.
So if we want to focus, then we need to focus more on the kids, develop them to be self-reliant and more versatile in terms of the use of technology.
Okay.
I know that, we have villages that, they have no access to computers, but if we're able to work on even those in the urban areas, those in the towns who have little access, in 50 years from now, we should have people in the governance sector who are well informed about ICT, its developmental objectives, and how they can leverage on that for the national development. Okay. For the skills, now we realize that we are doing more of online studies.
Okay.
So if we want to move in the education of our people, then we should look at making education more online.
Okay.
Making it more free.
Okay.
And making it more accessible. Looking at one hindrance to online studies nowadays is the cost of data.
Okay.
So if governments in Africa want to really make education work, then they should also look at the technological aspect that's making data really affordable.
Okay.
So that my mom can sit at home and listen to a training on how to maybe do sewing,
okay,
and then she'll be able to improve on what she does. So, and we also look at the language.
Okay.
Most of the things we teach here, we do it in the English language.
Okay.
So maybe, although we are communicating to the normal average Ghanaian or African, yeah, we want to do that in English.
Okay.
So the mode of instructions and communication is also a little bit wrong.
Okay.
So if you want to teach a market woman finance, you don't go finance using the financial languages, and you go the Akan way, or the person's never use the ever. And education is not white. Education is just improving knowledge. So we don't need to make it English to be able to make it called education.
That is true. So right now, are we saying that we should have categories of, say, we're talking about Agenda 2063, which is 50 years away. No, right now it's not even more. It's no more 50 years. So it's just catching up.
Yeah, it's catching up.
Let's just say you have a kid, like say a 6-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. This is something that you're developing for the kid.
Sure.
So are we saying that we should probably focus more on the next generation in terms of Africa? I'm talking about Africa, and then probably place less emphasis on the older generation. Is that something that you agree with?
Yeah, I will agree with that. Because it's more difficult to bend an old tree.
Okay.
But very easy to bend a new one.
Okay.
So to channel the energies of the younger generation towards the development of Africa is easier than trying to turn the already bent older generation.
Okay.
You see, the corruptions and all things are perpetrated by these people already.
Okay.
It means that there has been some loss of values somewhere. So bringing in education, trying to reshape these people is difficult as compared to getting a child to build values.
Okay.
So we should focus more on getting our case, building values, and the various by adjusting our curriculum,
okay,
trying to improve the teachers that we have. I know there was an introduction of teacher training, extra trainings for teachers, and there was a lot of fuss about it.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important that every teacher gets re-educated along the way.
Okay.
That, I mean, they stay in the classroom, some of them would set A's, and it has been so since.
Yeah.
So there's that need to always improve them. See, if we want to get quality people in the country, we start with the people, the younger ones.
Okay.
Because your moral values, your attitudes and everything, that's where you build them, at that foundational level. So if you want to work and get Africa on, then that's where we need to target.
Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. You are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU Studios via the following email addresses: info@aau.org, AAUTV@aau.org, or ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280.
Obviously, you know, the talk of AI, artificial intelligence, taking over our jobs, you know, right now when you go to the banks are laying off a lot of people. People are complaining, the government is laying, you know, the economy is hard. Is it something we're supposed to be talking about, or is just, you know, we just trying to change? Because right now, artificial intelligence is what is happening right now. It's a reality. So here, the question is, what sort of skills, future skills, do we need to really invest in? Because that is what is important right now.
Okay.
What specific skills do we need to really invest in this 21st century, the age of ICT?
Okay, so we are afraid of change.
Yeah.
We are people who are very scared of change. Anytime that you are developing a new software for a new unit, they're going to come out with a lot of resistance because they think that what you're developing for them is going to take out their jobs and they have to lay off some people.
Yeah.
So that fear is there. The skill that we need is, I think people need to embrace technology.
Okay.
They should stop fearing it.
Okay.
Embrace it and learn it. Because if I'm developing a software that you are supposed to use, then you must be able to know how to use the mouse well, so that you're effective and efficient in what you do. So instead of resisting, let us invest in learning. You know, let it be a continual process of learning new technology that comes. So as soon as there's an information that comes there, we should be ready to just absorb it and assimilate it and use it. So we think we should teach them more technology.
Okay.
You say, I will be biased in my area that we can teach our case how to program.
Okay.
You see, programming is not difficult. It's just about solving a problem. You see, if any child is able to pick up any problem, break it into simple solutions, then that child is a problem solver. So we will be growing more problem solvers instead of more talkers in society as we have now.
Okay.
So if you introduce programming at the various levels, then you're going to have people who are thinking and creating.
Okay.
So the level of creativity will also increase, so we should do specific creativity lessons.
Okay.
So that people would not just go to school but they will learn to apply what they learn to create. And the innovation part is to bring out something that has an economic value.
Okay.
So that it becomes marketable. I mean, Zuckerberg was able to build Facebook from school.
Yeah.
He didn't need to be 30 years.
Yeah.
He just had a skill to do that. And we need to also invest in entrepreneurial skills.
Okay.
You see, there's a youthful economy.
Yeah.
So if we want to grow, I know China did it some time ago, asking all its youth that they start up businesses. Any business that you want to set up, you come, we'll give you some ideas, we try to polish whatever you have. You know, I know government has tried something recently, but then it should be more focused and directed, you know, towards a particular goal, so that we know that at the end of the day, if a youth starts a business, it's not going to collapse, because a lot of people start businesses and they collapse. Most people also started on loans. They started wrongly, without business plans, without proper guidance. So you realize that this has been wearing the youth down. Because when they start a business, invest their money into it, then this is going to go down the drain.
Okay.
Instead of getting guidance to really make the business work. If the government can give, no interest loans to people who have wild ideas so that they just work around and pay back, I think it's splendid.
Okay, so let's look at this. We are talking about investing in skills revolution based on science, technology, and innovation, the technology aspect. So now people are saying that if you really want to get a job, if you really want to be part of the future economy, you have to go into ICT, learning ICT-related courses. Is it the case? Or probably you can even apply ICT in our humanities, somebody taking lessons in history, somebody taking lessons in geography, can probably embrace ICT. Is that there's an erroneous thinking there? I want us to clarify that.
Okay, so it's not about taking an ICT course. You don't need to be a computer scientist. So what is embracing the technology? Technology, I think we have that word wrong.
Okay.
It is not computers. Technology is not computers.
Okay.
It's the application of scientific findings.
Okay.
So technology is the application of scientific findings. So whatever field you are working with. So as you said, you're into finance.
Yeah. I'm into finance.
Yes. Then you apply technology. I am taking a course in financial engineering.
Okay.
Where we use tools, programming tools,
okay,
to predict the stock market.
Okay.
That we're able to predict the next, possible prices of the various stocks.
Yeah.
So if you are not, a finance person, you just have to love this and just want to know how it works, how it's making the prediction. It's not about you becoming an IT expert or becoming a programmer, but being able to use that tool for your business. You're a psychologist. Now we're using data to learn about people and all that. You want to
predict
use
behaviors
and all. Criminology, being able to learn about criminals. You're a policeman. You think that ICT is not important? You can use ICT to learn about your criminals.
Okay.
If you keep good criminal records in this country, then we'll be able to tell which areas, even in Ghana, has higher criminal records. So that this will make us effective. They don't need to be computer scientists.
Okay.
They just need to love technology and learn how to use it. If you're a doctor, now we have computer vision, who is able to see. Now I can look at you with a camera, and the camera can do a lot of things with you.
Wow.
Can do extraction of your eye, tell you by your eye color, whether there's something wrong with you or not. So it's about, if you tumor, operations and all that, you need it. So you don't need to fight it as if it's going to take your job, but just embrace it to what you do, and it becomes a free thing for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because, personally, I also had that erroneous thinking that, when they talk about embracing ICT is the next thing. I think it's about maybe going to take a program or a course in computer science or something, but it's good to know that, I can actually embrace ICT even in my economics field or in my finance field. That is interesting. Finally, let's look at what possible solutions or concrete, suggestions can you give so that we can improve on the future skills, the skills that we need for the future?
Okay, so I think Currently, what we lack is knowledge.
Okay.
So, what all African countries should do is, I mean, they should focus on knowledge acquisition and dissemination. If we look into even the banking sector, even the IT sector, the economics, you realize that yes, people have some level of knowledge, but then the level of knowledge they have is not even adequate. This is even for the educated people. When we go to, I have a site that is Artisans GH, where we register artisans, so that we market them. We get a platform to market them, because you realize that they are in various corners. It's difficult to find a tailor, I mean, anywhere. So the artisansgh.com gives that tailor a platform that I'm here, I can look for the person and give the person a job.
Even that is technology.
That's technology.
Right.
So, so if we want to really make these countries work, then we should focus on these people, entrepreneurs, educate them. You see, you go to many of them and they have no idea what mobile money even is. They don't use it. I mean, most of them don't have bank accounts. They don't use it. They are scared. And so they need to be educated, because these people must save to be able to make payment for their case fees. So if they lack the education of savings, you see, then it becomes a whole problem altogether.
That is true.
Then we should look at, if the entrepreneurs, then we should look at the entrepreneurial and managerial training. We should focus on that. Train them. If you are a bees maker, how do you make the bees making a business? I mean, it's not the, I know somebody sells cocoa and then it has been like 20 years. And you go to the same table, and then the same charcoal, everything. So can we make this, educate this person to know that, hey, a lot of people love the plantain thing. So you can roast a lot of it, put it in packs, and then, I mean, get people to even book it on your phone so that you can send it to their offices. So it becomes a bigger business. So it's just that we need to train people. We need to make sure that they are educated. The education here, it's not about schooling. Schooling is different from education. A lot of people have been to school, but they are not educated. Education is assimilating what has been taught, the knowledge, and applying that. They realize that then you have been transformed by what you are learning, then you are educated. So our problem in Africa is knowledge. Let us focus on that. Let us build that. It should be inclusive. So we shouldn't look at, schools, and then we are trying to refine the curriculum and all that. Yeah, it's fine to restructure what we are currently facing. This is not education. What we are going through in schools is not co-education. We are being schooled till we graduate with our masters. But then if you ask somebody who has completed a master's, what are you going to do with a master? They tell you, I don't know. That means that we have a problem.
Thank you very much, Sion. Actually, back on the use of technology in selling the cocoa plantain you're talking about, I saw a picture on Facebook. The woman sells plantain at East Legon, and then she uses this, you can go there and use your card. Yeah, so actually we are making strides, so we can hope for. Thank you very much, viewers. This is Agenda 2063. We were talking about investing in skills revolution that is based on science, technology, and innovation. This is where time will permit us to bring to an end today's episode of Agenda 2063. You can leave a comment on our Facebook wall, Association of African Universities. On Twitter, you can also go to AAU_67, and then you can follow our discussions. And then next moment, you can also join us here in the studio for a discussion on Agenda 2063. Let us also take some moments, when we go to our offices, when we go to our classrooms, to also read about the developmental agenda for Africa, that is the Agenda 2063 document. Thank you very much. I was your host, Schneider Kweku Ankuma.
Hello Africa, this is Event Update on AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. Event Updates brings you information about upcoming higher education events happening in Africa, and it is brought to you by the Association of African Universities. I am Isabella Tetahinakwa.
Je m'appelle Alexandra Mpaba-Johnson.
Accra Institute of Technology is a top-notch private university in Ghana. The university offers world-class bachelor's, master's, and PhD degree programs.
IT and management is one of the good courses I think we should offer these days, because I realized that on my years of experience on the IT field, I realized that IT guys find it very difficult to cope with the management aspect. And AIT is giving us the opportunity to do IT and management. We dive into what? Programming. I did HR, I did principal management, and all this one is giving me the opportunity to be able to communicate with my manager. So when we are talking about IT, I know that I'm talking about something technical, and I can also talk about management, which is also another dimension of corporate institution. So with all this, I think AIT is giving us a very nice opportunity.
We are AIT, the University of the Future.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, is calling for academics to enroll for its maiden faculty online modular training formed from June to August 2020. This online teaching modular training is targeted at all academics in African universities to help them enhance their skills in online and remote teaching and learning. The following are some modules for the training: how to manage your online presence, how to teach online, how to welcome students to the online environment, how to organize your online course, planning and facilitating online discussion, synchronous and asynchronous tools in online teaching and learning, presentation tools in the virtual environment, social bookmarking tools, screencasting tools, and online assessment tools, among others. Kindly visit the link on your screen to register. And for more information, contact the webinar officer kasam@aau.org or call +233 243 298464. You can also visit www.aau.org.
L'Association des universités africaines AUA appelle les universitaires à s'inscrire à sa première formation modulaire en ligne de juin à août 2020. Cette formation modulaire d'enseignement en ligne s'adresse à tous les universitaires des universités africaines pour les aider à améliorer leurs compétences dans l'enseignement et l'apprentissage en ligne et à distance. Quelques modules pour la formation sont comment gérer votre présence en ligne, comment enseigner en ligne, comment accueillir les étudiants dans l'environnement en ligne, comment organiser votre cours en ligne, la planification et l'animation de discussions en ligne, les outils synchrones et asynchrones dans l'enseignement et l'apprentissage en ligne, les outils de présentation dans l'environnement virtuel, les outils de bookmarking social, les outils de moulage d'écran et les outils d'évaluation en ligne, entre autres. Veuillez visiter le lien qui s'affiche sur votre écran pour vous inscrire. Et pour plus d'informations, contactez le responsable du webinaire, M. Kwesi Sam, via kassam@aau.org ou appelez le +233 243 29 84 64. Vous pouvez également visiter www.aau.org.
The Center for Research Implications and Practice, a consultancy firm, is calling for abstracts for the first global conference on online education on the theme Best Practices of Online Education, to be held on 10th to 12th August 2020 virtually. With the COVID-19, most educational and training institutions were caught unprepared to move to online education. This conference seeks to bring together many educators and trainers who wish to interact with others around the world and share about online education, and also bring online education experts and enthusiasts together to generate synergy that will help consolidate online education globally. Expected participants are college and university professors, lecturers and administrators, K-12 educators, education technologists, online education researchers, online program leaders, online curriculum specialists, online trainers, and anyone involved in supporting online learners and educators to submit abstracts and or plan to attend this unique international conference. Interested participants are to register before 31st July 2020. For more information, kindly call +254 72 810 8022 or email info@centerrep.org.
Center for Research Implications and Practice, une société de conseil, lance un appel à communication pour la première conférence mondiale sur l'éducation en ligne sur le thème « Meilleures pratiques de l'éducation en ligne » qui se tiendra du 10 au 12 août 2020. Avec le Covid-19, la plupart des établissements d'enseignement et de formation n'étaient pas préparés à passer à l'enseignement en ligne. Cette conférence vise donc à rassembler de nombreux éducateurs et formateurs qui souhaitent interagir avec d'autres dans le monde pour apprendre et partager sur l'éducation en ligne et aussi apporter des experts et des passionnés de l'éducation en ligne réunis pour générer une synergie qui contribuera à consolider l'éducation en ligne à l'échelle mondiale. Les participants attendus sont des professeurs de collège et d'université, des conférenciers et des administrateurs, des enseignants de la maternelle, des technologues de l'éducation, des chercheurs en éducation en ligne, des responsables de programmes en ligne, des spécialistes du curriculum en ligne, des formateurs en ligne et toute personne impliquée dans l'aide aux apprenants et aux enseignants en ligne pour soumettre des résumés et ou toute personne ayant l'intention d'assister à cette conférence internationale unique. Les participants intéressés doivent s'inscrire avant le 31 juillet 2020. Et pour plus d'informations, veuillez appeler le +254 72 81 08 022 ou envoyer un email à info@centerip.org.
The African Network for Economics of Learning, Innovation and Competence Building Systems is looking for suitable PhD students from universities in African countries to participate in the Africa Leaks PhD Visiting Fellowship Program 2021 batch, focused on innovation and development at the Department of Political Science, Faculty of Social Science, Aalborg University, Denmark. This fellowship program and scholarship seeks to help African PhD students working in the field of innovation and development to strengthen their academic research qualifications, improve quality of their dissertation, and prepare for a career in innovation and development, either within academia or outside. To be eligible, applicants must be enrolled as a PhD student at a university in Africa, have completed their first year of studies by December 2020, have a background within economics, sociology, political science, science and technology policy, geography, history or development studies. Applicants may also work within the STEM subjects or even manufacturing, but from a social science perspective. Applicants must possess adequate skills in English, be working actively on a subject relevant to the field of innovation and development as defined above. Submit a brief application explaining own background, motivation for applying, and expected outcomes of participation in the Africa Leaks PhD Visiting Fellowship Program. Interested applicants should apply to visitingphd@africaleaks.org with a brief outline of your current PhD project, including training plan, CV, letter of support from the main PhD supervisor confirming that the PhD student will have completed his or her upgrade probation by end January 2021. Letter of support from the university administration at the university where the PhD student is enrolled, copies of academic certificates, one writing sample from current PhD program before 31st July 2020. For more information, please email visitingphd@africaleaks.org or secretariat@africaleaks.org. You can also call +254 710 60 7210.
Le réseau africain pour l'économie de l'apprentissage, de l'innovation et des systèmes de renforcement des compétences recherche des doctorants appropriés des universités des pays africains pour participer. Ce programme de bourse vise à aider les doctorants africains travaillant dans le domaine de l'innovation et du développement à renforcer leurs qualifications académiques de recherche, améliorer la qualité de leur mémoire et préparer une carrière en innovation et développement au sein du monde universitaire ou à l'extérieur. Pour être éligible, le candidat doit être inscrit en tant que doctorant dans une université en Afrique, avoir terminé sa première année d'études d'ici décembre 2020, avoir une formation en économie, sociologie, sciences politiques, politique scientifique et technologique, géographie, histoire ou études du développement. Les candidats peuvent également travailler dans les matières STEM ou même dans la fabrication, mais dans une perspective de sciences sociales. Il doit posséder des compétences adéquates en anglais, travailler activement sur un sujet relevant du domaine de l'innovation et du développement tel que défini ci-dessous. Soumettre une brève candidature de 500 mots expliquant ses propres antécédents, la motivation pour postuler et les résultats attendus de la participation au programme de bourse de visite AfricaLeaks PhD. Postulez à visitephd@africaleaks.org avec un bref aperçu de son projet de doctorat actuel, y compris le plan de formation maximum 5 pages, CV, lettre de soutien du directeur de thèse confirmant que le doctorant aura terminé sa mise à niveau, probation d'ici fin janvier 2021. Lettre de soutien de l'administration universitaire de l'université où le doctorant est inscrit, copie de certificat académique, un échantillon d'écriture, article ou chapitre du programme de doctorat en cours avant le 31 juillet 2020. Pour plus d'informations, veuillez envoyer un email à visitephd@africaleaks.org ou au secrétariat@africaleaks.org. Vous pouvez également appeler le +254 71 06 07 210.
That is all for this episode. Events Update is brought to you by the Association of African Universities. Please follow us on our social media platforms at Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAU TV_African Universities on Twitter, and AAU TV Official on Instagram. You can also visit our dedicated website at tv.aau.org for more of events updates. Our makeup is done by L. Nails and Makeup. I am Isabella Tetahinakwa.
Je m'appelle Alexandra Mpaba Johnson.
The COVID-19 pandemic has necessitated the need for higher education institutions to establish their impact through applied research. It is in this regard that the Africa Centers of Excellence for Impact Project, a higher education project supporting universities in West Africa, has engaged in groundbreaking researches in managing the virus within the sub-region. The 53 centers across the continent are putting in place measures to manage the pandemic in their respective countries. In Nigeria, the Africa Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases, ACEGID, at Redeemers University, in coordination with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, was the first institution in Africa to successfully sequence genomes of SARS-CoV-2, which is the COVID-19 virus. This will strengthen surveillance for tracking mutations of the virus. The center has also developed a COVID-19 screening tool to measure individual risk level. Also, ACEGID seeks to use advanced genomics science to accelerate the production of a homemade vaccine against the virus. The West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, WACBIP, a cell biology research center dedicated to the diagnostics of tropical diseases in sub-Saharan Africa at the University of Ghana, has also successfully sequenced genomes of SARS-CoV-2. This is a milestone in Ghana's response to the pandemic, as it will aid in the tracing of the sources of community infections in people with no known contact with confirmed cases. Other centers of excellence are contributing to knowledge on management of the virus through innovative research. Centers such as the Regional Transport Research and Education, TREC, hosted by the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, examined how the COVID-19 is spreading in time and into new areas, its impact on urban mobility, and the environmental effect of the lockdown. To support continuous teaching and learning in their respective institutions, the Africa Centers of Excellence are adopting innovative measures by moving classes online. Learning management systems such as Moodle, Sakai, Google Classroom, among others, are being used. The Africa Center of Excellence project is a flagship program where the World Bank, in partnership with the French Development Agency, AFD, and regional partners such as the Association of African Universities and ECOWAS, are supporting African governments to invest in quality postgraduate education and applied research.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, is an international non-governmental organization set up by universities in Africa to promote cooperation among themselves and the international academic community.
Mon nom est professeur Étienne Ehouan-Ehilé. Je suis le secrétaire général de l'Association des universités africaines qui est basée à Accra, au Ghana. Je vais vous parler de la création de l'Association des universités africaines. Il faut remonter dans les années 60 pour pouvoir comprendre le processus. Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement.
I am Nodumo Dlamini. I'm the Director of ICT Services and Knowledge Management at the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities is a network of 400 universities in Africa. The biggest value that the universities benefit from being members of the association is this big platform that allows them to collaborate, allows them to work together, allows them to teach together. Through this platform, a university in North Africa can work with a university in Southern Africa, and also those in East Africa can work with those in West Africa.
Founded November 1967 at a conference in Rabat, Morocco, by heads of African higher education institutions, the association is currently headquartered in Accra, Ghana.
My name is Maxwell Amo-Hoyt. I'm the Director of Finance of the Association of African Universities. The association sustains itself from contributions from member universities and also from other development partners. Some of our development partners include the World Bank, other governmental agencies like the Swedish International Development Agency, UK Department for International Development, and other partners. We also receive a lot of support from other governments, especially the government of Ghana. Other partners include the African Union, which is more or less the parent organization of the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities hosts the Secretariat for the African Union's Continental Education Strategy. And by so doing, we provide coordinating roles for the African Union in helping members achieve their targets.
Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement. Et rappelons-nous que les années 60, la décade 60, a été une décade où la plupart des pays africains ont obtenu leur indépendance ou ont, disons, pris les dispositions pour être indépendants. C'était donc aussi l'année de développement, dans la mesure où tous ces pays indépendants devaient se retrouver de temps en temps pour parler de comment mettre ensemble leurs problèmes et trouver une solution commune à leurs problèmes. Et dans ce contexte-là, l'éducation était une priorité pour eux, surtout l'éducation universitaire. Et sur ce plan-là, les universités aussi se sont organisées grâce à l'UNESCO, qui a parrainé plusieurs réunions depuis Madagascar jusqu'au Maroc.
My name is Jonathan Umba. I'm the Director of Research and Academic Planning. The programs and projects that we run at AAU are consistent with our strategic plan, and they are implemented for our higher education stakeholders, namely the higher education institutions in Africa. These programs are implemented in such a way that our stakeholders will get the benefit of membership of our association. And our programs also are aligned with a number of global and international agendas on higher education, including the Continental Education Strategy for Africa and the Agenda 2063. So these programs are aligned with a number of international agendas with a view to promoting higher education in Africa.
The AAU is the apex organization and principal forum for consultation, exchange of information, and cooperation among universities in Africa.
I am Professor Nkusa Mahao, Vice Chancellor of the National University of Lesotho in the Kingdom of Lesotho in Southern Africa. There are roughly 77 universities that are affiliated with the AAU in the region. But as you might be aware, there are a lot more universities that are as yet to take the membership of the Association of African Universities. Well, universities that are not members of the AAU are missing quite a lot. First of all, let's appreciate this one point, that the AAU is a main driver from the angle of training and capacitating the human resources of the continent, the agenda of the African Union 2063. So if an institution is not on board, it is missing the opportunity to leverage on the opportunities that are provided by the association in the area of training, human resource capital, training their own staff and students, the opportunities that are provided by the universalization of quality management on higher education on the continent, and many other opportunities that are provided.
Et en 1963, il y a eu une réunion à Khartoum, au Soudan, où les chefs des institutions d'enseignement supérieur ont décidé de créer l'Association des universités africaines. Finalement, la création va se faire à une conférence qui s'est tenue à Rabat au Maroc, et la création de l'Association des universités africaines a eu lieu le 12 novembre 1967.
I'm Prof. Hassan Kafi, AAU Governing Board member, representing for East African region. Also, I am the president of Plasma University, Mogadishu, Somalia. We really like to give a call for universities in Africa, especially in East Africa, those which are not members still in the Association of African Universities. We are calling them because we feel the organization is ours. It represents the voice of higher education in Africa being seen all over the world.
And as we know, smartphone connectivity has already transformed much of the way how students are accessing higher education in Africa. So we will see what kind of experiences you now have in the continent, and what do you think? Where are the bottlenecks, and where are the opportunities for the future? So everybody very much welcome, and I give over to Kaisa again. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And as part of our project, I have authored a policy note that actually was published this week. It hasn't been launched yet, but I'm sharing it here as a soft launch with you. It's called Resources, Relevance and Impacts, and it talks about the key challenges for universities. in Africa. And it forms part of kind of a larger, I will share the link to it in an email after we meet today. I think it shares kind of an idea of a larger context, just like Lisa was talking about. Universities are interconnected in the whole world, but we also see challenges being the same all over the world, but also peculiar to the African continent. And I was part of a webinar the other day organized by the International Association of Universities, the AAU. And there's a professor there from Ethiopia, Professor Tamrat, and he was talking about the previous normal and the new normal. So I borrowed a little bit from him and I added a few points. But I think just before we launch into the discussion, it's kind of important to contextualize a little bit. The previous normal for the continent was growing economies for most countries, some with the highest growth in the world. We could see kind of a predicted growth. We had a growing young population as well, which meant that economies were expanding. Universities are having a key role in this development, but of course access is highly unequal. Even when universities admit more students, the share of poor students is still relatively small from poor households, and it's more the elites that have access to higher education. Digitalization was budding, but also had huge barriers, such as low bandwidth, high costs, and of course, power irregularities. Our societies were interconnected, but there was also huge dependency on foreign solutions. Now we're into a new normal. Economies all over the world are contracting, but there's huge uncertainty. We don't know when this crisis is ending. We don't know exactly how it will affect us, but we can guess that it will affect the people who are already struggling more than the others. We're now focused on protecting lives and livelihoods. Universities have closed all over the world. What did I have my numbers on that? I think it was it 9.8 million students on the continent that are currently not going to university as they usually were before. So we have been thrown into online learning and working from home. Many countries are experiencing lockdowns and or slow reopenings. And in the seminar with Professor Tamrat, he was talking about the silver lining that where the dependency was on foreign solutions before, you can already see that now you're on your own. So you have to find local solutions and homegrown solutions. And that means he was suggesting a kind of a new approach, a new mindset. So that was just a little bit of context to this conversation. And today we're focusing on access and digitalization. And I think with that, as planned, we're launching into the presentations a little bit early. Desire, can I call on you? Are you ready to share with us your presentation? COVID-19 lockdown. Can South African universities guarantee quality e-learning for students with disabilities? The floor is yours. If you want to unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so you have 10 minutes, and I've asked Camilla to be our timekeeper. So she will let you know when you have 3 minutes left, and then when you have 1 minute left, and then we ask that you wrap up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you too. And those of you who feel more comfortable turning off your camera, you can do so.
Hi everyone, my name is Desire Chiwandire. I just finished my PhD at Rhodes University, focusing on the inclusion of students with. So the title for my presentation is COVID-19 lockdown. Can South African universities guarantee quality e-learning for students with disabilities? So basically, I was mainly interested on the issue of how, Kajsa has already provided the historical background, on how universities internationally have been forced to switch to e-learning, for all students, including students with disabilities. So I won't provide much historical background on that. South Africa is one of the universities which has also resorted to e-learning, and this is a new phenomenon, especially in South Africa and most African universities, to having to focus to adopt e-learning. They've mainly been contact universities. So if you look in the South African context, when it comes to the inclusion of students with disabilities, this is a group of students who have mainly been excluded when it comes to educational opportunities. Why? Because more emphasis has mainly been focused on their non-disabled peers. If there's issues of curriculum, it's always curriculum from the perspective of students. So I think it's important for me to begin by defining the concept of inclusive education. So the dominant definition of inclusive education is supporting learners with disabilities so that they are able to be involved with their non-disabled peers to the maximum extent possible. So mainly this is a concept which emphasizes the need for students with disabilities to be supported, on the same level with their non-disabled peers, mainly in what is often referred to as the regular classroom setting. So very often it involves adapting the curriculum in order to ensure that, students with disabilities are equally supported. So when we talk about inclusive education, mainly, there's what I refer to as 5 pillars of inclusive education, So if an educational institution can meet these five criteria, then it shows that, that particular educational institution, could be considered as a best practices in terms of supporting students with disabilities. So very often funding is one of the most important aspects of inclusive education. And in South Africa, we've got what is often referred to as NSFAS bursaries, which provides funding for students with disabilities to access higher education, and also provide funding for assistive devices, any form of support which can enable students to succeed. The other supporting mechanism is the provision of reasonable accommodations, which varies depending on the student's disability. Let's say for students with specific learning disabilities, this could come in the form of extra time. And the other aspect is accessible built environment. There is a need for universities to build their buildings in line with the universal design principles so that they can be accessible, particularly for students with physical disabilities or mobility challenges, including those with other disabilities. This could be students with visual impairments. And there's also the provision of assistive devices. This mainly applies to students with visual impairments. And there's also the need to ensure that the curriculum is accessible to students with diverse disabilities. And this involves the role of lecturers. So for purposes of this presentation, I was mainly interested on the impact of COVID learning, through the lens of students with disabilities and support staff members. So I designed a questionnaire which had 5 questions, which I forwarded to students with disabilities at one institution. And I also forwarded it to support staff members. So in the questionnaire, what I was mainly interested in was to explore, which academic year the student is and the faculty, their disability and how the lockdown is affecting or has affected their learning, how their university is supporting them. This could include lecturers, tutors, or any relevant stakeholders within their universities. I was also mainly interested in potential challenges and opportunities of remote learning, that they are currently experiencing. So the questionnaire for disability unit staff members, in Africa, they are often referred to as disability unit staff members, but in other settings, they are referred to as disability coordinators. But yeah, so I was mainly interested on the measures that their unit are actually taking to support students with various disabilities, and I wanted to hear from their opinions that which category of students with disabilities are more likely to be affected by remote learning and why. I was also interested on the support, that the lecturers and tutors are providing during the lockdown, if they are doing any form of collaboration. And also I was interested in potential challenges and opportunities, that could be that emanate from the lockdown. So from the findings, so basically 5 students responded, and most of these students, all of them had invisible disabilities, which ranged from depression, anxiety, epilepsy, and I used snowball sampling, so I contacted one student that I know with an invisible disability, who then referred me to her friends who also contributed to the study. So what I found, the dominant finding amongst students with disabilities, they felt that the university tends to use a one-size-fits-all approach, when it comes to the inclusion of students with disabilities. And this was more of like two-sided, that, universities seems to focus mainly on non-disabled students at the cost of disabled students. Even within students with disabilities themselves, they felt that, students with disabilities are treated as a homogeneous group, so with more attention being paid on students with visible disabilities at the cost of students with invisible disabilities. So this is a dominant finding.
3 minutes remaining.
So the other challenge is that, there was the dominant understanding was that, for some students, there was a emphasis, especially from disability unit staff members, that, blind students and those with specific learning disabilities will be disproportionately affected in comparison to their peers. Especially because for blind students, most of them, they rely on assistive devices, they access in disability units. But now that they are learning from home remotely, they don't have access to those assistive devices. The same also applies to students with specific learning disabilities who rely on scribes. Because they are working from home, they will be disadvantaged from that particular access. And also there is an issue of socio-economic background. In South Africa, universities are divided in historically Black institutions and historically white institutions. So participants from historically Black institutions raised concerns about, how most of the students live in remote areas. So therefore, those students will be more affected when it comes to issues of connectivity. Other participants, disability unit staff members, spoke about how first-year students with disabilities are more likely to be affected because, this group is in its early phase, because this was the first semester. So this group is in its early phase of transitioning to university. So most of them are still learning about how to use assistive devices and all that. So they felt that, this group will be more affected. When it comes to opportunities, some students...
remaining.
Sorry?
1 minute remaining.
When it comes to some students, they felt that, when it comes to opportunities, there will be flexibility, because most universities are quite flexible on deadlines. Lecturers are not supposed to impose strict deadlines. They they would do if it's conduct sessions. So they felt that, that's an opportunity that could be created by learning from remotely. And some participants felt that the delivery of hard copy material could help them, especially this participant has epilepsy, and she was speaking about how she can't stay on the computer for a long time. Other participants felt that, students with physical disabilities are less likely to be affected by learning remotely, especially if they are learning in universities where there is, the built environment is inaccessible. When it comes to some feel that, this will create an opportunity for lecturers to move away from their comfort zone, especially because most lecturers in African universities, including South Africa, have mainly been used to teaching students through contact sessions. So this could encourage them to learn about how to use technology in order to support students from an e-learning standpoint. So in terms of conclusions and recommendations, there was emphasis that, students, lecturers need to learn about universal design for learning, so that they can be able to create and deliver the curriculum that could be accessible to students with diverse disabilities online. And lastly, there was emphasis on connectivity, to say even though the universities are providing laptops, to students with disabilities, it's important to emphasize the issue of connectivity, because without connectivity, some students will be excluded. So online learning could provide equitable opportunities, provided there is adequate opportunities to ensure that connectivity is enhanced. So that's all from my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Desire, for your presentation. If there are anyone who has questions, you can write your name in the chat. I had a question kind of relating to your last point about connectivity. For the students that you did survey, what was their connectivity situation? Did they have a fixed line at home, or did they get any help from the university, or they used their phones? What was the mode of connectivity, if you want?
So for most of the students, I think this has to do with privilege, because most of all the students that I interviewed are from a historically white institution. So most of them seem to have their own laptops, and the institution is providing them with data. So most of them don't seem to have any challenges with connectivity. The only issue that they had was the issue of not having more opportunities to interact with their supervisors. And also remember, these are postgraduate students. They don't necessarily need to use, they don't have many courses. They're just focusing on their postgraduate studies. Some of them are doing their masters. But it's a different aspect now to historically black institutions, because in these institutions you find out that some students don't even have a laptop.
Yeah.
And they're still waiting for the university to provide them with one.
Yes, imagine to do online studies and online work, working from home with their sustainable research networks in Corona times and beyond. Stian, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kaisa. It's a great pleasure to be here. I've entitled my presentation Partnership on a Shoestring, and let me start by what I mean with that. I think that the partnership is the kind of term used a lot in terms of development cooperation, in terms of academic cooperation. But of course, partnership is also an implication and an expectation of having funding and institutional and muscles and resources in various ways. And what I want to talk about is how to make a partnership on a shoestring, with a low budget, moving on, working in that sense. And I take as my point of departure The research laboratory that we have recently founded between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Uppsala, Sweden. We call it le Laboratoire d'Anthropologie Comparative Engagée et Transnationale. So a research lab for the comparative, engaged, and transnational anthropology. And this is built up of a group of researchers who have been working together. We have been working for years, for a very long time. And finally, we felt the need to set up a research lab that can be an umbrella for lots of our efforts. And we did so without a single dime. We didn't have any money involved in this because we have ongoing research projects, we have ongoing collaborations with specific individuals, but we felt that we need to have something that is beyond a specific program or a specific project and so forth. And we, in this research lab, if you set up a research lab without LACE, the acronym of the lab is also to signal that we are working, whether we have money or not, we are working. It's not that we are against having funding, but we find that it's important that academic cooperation and collaboration must be put to the fore. One way of doing this, and this has started well before the Corona times, was to set up a virtual seminar. So we have a virtual seminar that we have launched between these three institutions in Burkina, Mali, and Uppsala. And we started as a virtual classroom. I mean, to have 3 classrooms connected. Have to read the papers in advance. And to do this, we use, either you can send out the papers, but often we use some of the platforms within Uppsala University called Studium. So we create a space there. The reason why I'm bringing up this, now we are planning for a Zoom seminar. So in 2 weeks' time, we will have 2 Zoom seminars, one with Eduardo Mondlane on democracy and public engagement in troubled times, in times of crisis. And then we will have another one on ethnographies of insecurity the following day. So the idea here is that instead of focusing on technology, ITC, and so on, we have to focus on pedagogy, what we can as lecturers, what research seminars, how to make it into a meaningful experience, not just into a second best option. So in that sense, I think it is that we already know and know well are getting more and more accentuated, because online education requires connection. And I think it's worth remembering James Ferguson's, it could be possible for the person to look at the lecture afterwards. This is not to be spread. It's just me standing where I stand now, not very welcome. And I haven't been to the hairdresser for a long time, so I don't want to be shared. It's not my best side, but I think it's a very kind of functional way of approaching issues. I have two more. One way that Corona has also impacted my work is that I have been contacted by University Nazi Boni, which is the University of Bobo Dioulasso in Burkina Faso.
3 minutes.
Yeah, and they have Professor Patrice Toué contacted me, and they are now going to launch a study of studying the barrier measures taken by the Burkinabe government and how citizens, various categories of citizens, are experiencing all these restrictions on political and social and civic liberties that are taking place in the time of Corona. And I think that is a very innovative way of doing, and gladly they got funding for this. And I will play the role of being a kind of advisor in terms of methodology, because I think it's so important to also to look at what is going on as for social science, to host a big conference on insecurity, beyond the insecurity and crisis in West Africa, here in Uppsala in June this year. And of course, this was extremely frustrating seeing that it was not going to take place. Political turmoil and so on. I think that a great impact of the corona situation will be that we will organize a roundtable on the corona pandemic in one way or another. So in that sense, I think it will be postponed. We will do it later, but we will also try to find ways of dealing with it. And I think that the lesson we need to, the takeaway that I would like to stress is that the world is as it used to be. It's just very different times we are living in. And that's why we should not start reassessing everything. We have to look.
1 minute.
What are the pedagogical skills that we need to develop? What are the research networks that we need to work for? When we know that funding is insecure, when we know that we might have problems. So that's why we have to think innovatively about how to develop partnerships on a shoestring. Thank you very much.
We're done there, Sim. Thank you very much for your inspiring presentation. Please write your name in the chat box if you have a question for Stian. I was thinking about when you do these seminars on a shoestring, do you feel like, from your experience, maybe also from the PhD course you're talking about, do you need to meet in person before for this to work, or you can kind of start online? Is that possible? So the question is kind of, do we need the personal?
That we would like to meet. I would like to meet all of them. I would like to interact normally with people. But if that's not possible, I think that this opens up for an opportunity in the sense that we can also have chatting time. So what we often do is that I open up the session at 2 o'clock as I open my ordinary classroom, and then students and we can chat. And I think that the Mozambique 15 minutes past, which is the academic quarter in Uppsala, then we start. And then we also, so we try to encourage this kind of social interaction and so we don't record the seminar part of the session, because I don't think that we should making Big Brother looking at us every time. But I mean, as lecturers, you can give the lecture, you can give the presentation, but the discussion, you have to feel free. You have to, I mean, you have to feel that you can be less thought through in the seminar setting. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that reminds me of that time we're going to have an online meeting for the conference you mentioned that now was cancelled. And for some reason, I think a technical issue, you didn't show up on time. So some of us were there waiting for you, and it was a lovely discussion before you showed up. Yeah. It was very relaxed.
Yeah.
Henning made a comment in the chat room. I don't know if he wants to make it in person as well before we move on to Mireille. Or was this issue about personal meetings?
Yeah. No, but I don't think that this is a reason for reconsidering having physical meetings, of course. But I do think that we should think, reflect also on our work. And for me,